Want to welcome y'all back to the podcast, Revelation Through Conversation. Ken Brown with my co-host.
Jay Brown.
And today we have our first official guest of the podcast, Miss Marquita Dorsey. But before we allow her to fully introduce herself, I have a couple of fun little questions I want to ask. And it's only because we're all from the same hometown. And it's not often that we'll get this chance to interview someone from our same hometown, so I put together a few questions. First question, the Johnson store.
Man, come on, the best slushes in America.
Oh yeah.
Hands down, the best slushes in America,
Come on
right?
now.
Hey,
Yes,
my question is it blue, red, or are you mixing it?
Mix.
Okay.
Go ahead and mix that, Mr. Johnson. Go ahead and mix that.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Second question. When we was coming up, you know how people, they represent their little part of the town where they was from. And hey, you hear Ice House,
Yeah.
Boat Right, Cross the
Yeah.
Bow, PHQ, Promised Land.
Yeah.
Where would, Marquita, where would you say you had the most fun?
Ooh, the most fun. Now you got me there. So if I gotta go with the most fun, I'm gonna have to say Across the Bow, right?
Cross the Bow, okay.
Wow.
I have to say Across the Bow. Look, I'm from the Ice House, right?
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
But the most
Ice
fun
House?
came across the bow, all right? Kelly Street.
Yeah.
There it is.
Hey, for myself, I don't know about you, JB. I think we had the most fun in Boat Right. What you
Yep. Boat Right, for sure.
When I went down there, it was fun. It was fun.
Yeah, we heard about them NSB boys too. Them NSB boys. Northside.
Hey, my last little fun question. Marquita, I went to school with a couple of your relatives. And what I noticed about y'all, I was thinking about this and I said, man, they got, for nicknames, they in the Hall of Fame for nicknames.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm run off a couple of them. I got Fruit,
Yeah.
Bug Guy,
Yeah.
Sam,
Yeah.
Empty, Chuck.
Some bad boys though. Some bad boys.
Honestly, I can say I just found this one out today. Cujo.
Yes.
Yeah. Hey,
That's me.
hey, how who comes up with the nicknames for you guys?
Listen, it's a mess, right? It's a mess. And I had to ask my mama, like, how did I even get here? First of all, I wasn't even a bad child. How did I even get here? Second of all, I've never seen the movie. I've only heard about it. So I was like, I'm not even a bad child, nothing close to what I hear. How did I get this name? So apparently it came out the same year I was born, 83, and my uncle felt it was okay to call me that. And I'm like, nobody stopped him. Nobody stopped him. So here I am to this day. Whenever I go home, I know you know me if you call me by that name.
Call you that. Yeah.
I know you know me. You from Shaw, or you know somebody from Shaw if you call me by that name. But like, it really has nothing to do with my personality or anything like that. It was just, he called me that. Nobody changed it. Boom, it stuck.
Just ran with it, yeah.
Just ran with it.
All right, man. That's the end of our fun.
That's funny.
So now you have the floor. Introduce yourself and let the people know what it is that you do.
Well, I am Marquita these days, okay?
Okay.
I am Marquita Dorsey. I'm a mental health advocate and coach. I am a certified mental health first aider. I currently host a Facebook Live podcast called Mental Health Mondays. It's hosted every second and fourth Monday on Facebook at 8:05 p.m. Central Standard Time.
Mm-hmm.
I host it on the umbrella of my business organization. I haven't really limited it yet. Called the Light Room. And so the goal of the Light Room is three-part: is to educate, empower, and equip the Black and Brown communities with the knowledge, skills, tools, and resources to advocate for their mental health. The reason that the Light Room even exists is because of, unfortunately, like you said, we're all from the same place. We lost a young man 2 years ago at this point, Frank Naylor, to death by suicide. And so I saw the comments on Facebook. And the funny thing is, I had just heard his voice that week because him and my cousin are classmates. And they were planning their class reunion. So I had just heard him laugh, just heard him talking. And then I find out what happened. And so I wanted to respond to my hometown, to the people, to the grief and all of that. So my academic background, is in psychology, professional counseling, community development, and social justice and criminology. So I was like, how can I help with all that I have? And I was like, well, I just go live on Facebook. Had no idea how to do that, right? My first video still tickles me. The camera was in the ceiling. I had on like a pink sweater. And I just pressed go live and I just started sharing what I had. It went from being every Monday to now being bi-weekly. But that's who I am, and that's where we are. That's how we got here.
Okay. And that was the birth of the Lightroom?
It was. When I moved out here to San Antonio, I didn't know what all I was coming out here to do. And of course, I had no idea this would happen for the reason or the way or anything the way that it did. But it really gave me a way to use what I have. And so as far as the mental health advocate piece, I took a program in 2020. Young lady out of Baltimore, Maryland. She did a Facebook ad for her. She said, do you want to be a mental health advocate and coach without a degree? And I was like, well, I have several degrees, but I still like to be a mental health advocate and coach. Because at the time, I was not sold on being a therapist. I was like, nah, don't want to go that route. But let me try the advocacy and coaching route. And so I called her. I put the application in on Facebook. She called me. I was in Dallas with a friend. I took her phone call. We talked. A good conversation. She gave me the price for the program. I was like, it's in my budget. I took it. And it really blew my mind, right? I have academic background. And then for her to present this program in the way that she did, I was highly impressed. And so she even this program allowed the space for me to take what I learned academically and still do something with it in my community. Since again, I wasn't totally sold on being a therapist at the time. So the advocacy and coaching came into a place where I'm more of an educator, I'm more of a teacher. I like to talk. My friends know that. I like to talk, I like to read, I like to learn, and I like to share those things that I've read and learned. And so being in this space as an advocate, it doesn't necessarily contain me to the sometimes narrow space of therapy. It allows me to access all types of people. I'll say it that way. It allows me to raise the voice, to be the voice, and then kind of guide those with the voice into therapy. Right. So I love this space. Again, I get to put my hands in multiple things at one time. And the way my brain works, I like that. I like being able to touch different parts of it, different things about it, and then referring people to those that specialize, right? That narrow down, that have a niche. So that's how the advocacy role opened up, and that's how I'm kind of flowing through it at this point. So the podcast is my biggest resource right now as an advocate. It's free, right? Nobody pays to be a guest on my podcast. Nobody pays to view the podcast. It's simply me making it safe, right, and open to talk about mental health in our community, because y'all know that's not something that we talk about. So every second and fourth Monday when I press go live now, just knowing once I download it and I put it up on YouTube, it not only reaches my Facebook group, but it also reaches out to YouTube. So that works for me.
Okay. And I just want to get this out too. The topic today is mental maintenance. Now, Marquita, I wanna ask you, what is mental health?
I'm glad you asked that question. So mental health encompasses the way you feel, the way you think, the way you act, the way you respond to things in life, right? So it encompasses every part of you. Everybody on this earth has mental health. We want to make sure that you have good mental health. And a lot of times when you say mental health, people immediately think mental illness.
Right.
And the two are not the same in essence. A mental illness has to be diagnosed.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So a mental illness, a mental illness has to be diagnosed by a trained, certified physician, like a psychologist, a therapist, psychiatrist, has to diagnose you with a mental illness. And so even when you go to your primary care physician, they can treat you on some things, but because they don't necessarily specialize in mental health concerns, it's still best to go see a psychiatrist or a therapist or somebody that's able to diagnose you, assess you, and diagnose you. So that's another reason that putting that education out there, putting that information out there, so people will know the difference, right? You go to your PCP and you share your mental health concern, and they'll give you what they know, general medicine wise, and what they think will help. But to get to the root of it, you're going to have to get somebody that specializes.
Okay.
And so you're going to go need to see those type of physicians who specialize in assessing and diagnosis mental illnesses.
Okay, I got you. JB, you got a question?
My question is why do you feel it's so hard to deal with that within our community, the mental health within our community? Like I feel like our community, they just don't like to get into it. I just get your opinion about it.
Well, it's a couple of things, but at the root, there's a root to anything that grows, right? And so the root of Black Americans, African American, is trauma. And that's at the root. And some of us may have never physically felt the trauma of slavery, things like that, but it passed down the way that it flowed through our great-great-great-grandparents' body on up to their parents. Like their children experienced the trauma that they experienced. So if nobody deals with it, it passes off to the next generation, We call it intergenerational trauma. So it passes off through the generations. And so you'll hear us saying, well, that's just how my family is. That's just how I am. Versus saying, there's no way I should be okay being angry all the time. There's no way I should be okay with working 24 hours a day and never resting. If you are a believer. Now, that's the other thing. I don't tell anybody what to believe, but I'm a believer. And that means I am a Christian, right? I believe in Jesus Christ, the example that he set, the holy writ of scripture. I just have to clarify that. But I'm a believer. And so if you are a believer, on the seventh day, the Lord rested after he took 6 days to put in work. Okay? So who are you to think you don't have to rest? But because of the struggle that we've had to overcome and we continue to fight to overcome in our culture, they'll think I don't have time to feel like I'm depressed. I don't have time to feel sad. I don't have time to feel anxious. But you are, right? And so when you constantly push those feelings under the rug, number one is going to create a pile. And one day you're going to come home or somebody's going to come up to you and bump that and it's going to explode. It's going to explode. Your children are going to feel it. Your coworker's going to feel it. Your spouse is going to feel it. The community's going to feel it. Somebody's going to feel it, right? When at the bottom, at the root, it really could have just been a conversation, unfortunately. And then too, you have to look at education, right?
Right.
We didn't know our culture didn't know how to read initially, right? So we had to learn. And a lot of the stuff we're learning, we're behind time. It's just what it is. We're catching up, And so with that, by the time we catch on to some things, it's gone to the next thing. So there was a lot of understanding that we just didn't have. And then too, culture in itself. We don't do that. I'm not going to tell them white folks all my business. I'm not going to sit on no couch. How can somebody who don't know me help me with my problem? Like they aren't trained professionals, right? And then too, when you're in that type of trauma, when you're in that type of damage and hurt, it really feel like nobody's going through it but you. So it's easier to isolate. So you'll hear us saying, man, I just like to deal with my stuff by myself. I just like to be away from everybody so I can deal with it. Then I'll come back. But you're not dealing with it. You're just taking 2 more weeks to suppress it.
Right. I mean, those are good points. I found that within our culture, sometimes we like to mask it, It's like the general thing. Like me and my brother, we talk often. We check in on each other, make sure we good or whatever. But I know a lot of people like to use that phrase. I ask my brother, how you doing, bro? He'll tell me, I'm good. You know what I'm saying? But on the other side of that, I'm good, depending on who you're talking to. He's not really telling. He's really not being truthful to me. And then, the worst case scenario happened. You be like, bro, I ain't even know. But I asked him. So within our culture, we like to mask it. Why? To this day, I don't know. Because I know me. I'm a passionate person. I'm gonna tell my brother how I feel. You know what I'm saying? And he gonna give me the best advice he can give me. So, yeah.
Well, and then too, if I can speak towards the Black man, I'm not a Black man. I gave birth to a Black man.
Yeah.
raise a black man. So that gave me, a whole world of insight to see my son, grow from an infant to who he is now. So I have a
Mm-hmm.
whole different respect and love and perspective for the black man.
Mm-hmm.
But when you think about, again, culturally, how things grow from one generation to the next, if you didn't see it, sometimes it's really hard to imagine it for yourself. So if you didn't see your grandfather or your father or your uncles verbally expressing to one another what they're going through, you can read a
Right.
lot of books. You can go to a lot of workshops. You can hear about it in your college courses. But this is not part of your core upbringing. This is not part of the people you trust with all that you are. So it
Mm-hmm.
sounds good in theory, but it's difficult to put it in practice because,
Mm-hmm.
again, history has also made us not trust all the time people outside of our core group. And
Mm-hmm.
so to
Trust.
that, men have developed, this, and then with that, what they have seen from the men, suck it up. You ain't got time for
Mm-hmm.
that. You got to
Mm-hmm.
get them bills paid. You got to do this.
Mm-hmm.
You got to do that. Wake up for the crack of dawn. Even if you just went to bed late, and you ain't got time to sleep. Sleep when
Right.
you die.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Heard
Even
that
in
before.
Hispanic culture, right? I have a friend out here, and I fuss at him all the time because he works so much. And I'm like, I'm gonna get you. He's like, I'm gonna sleep when I die. I said, if you don't sleep, you're gonna die. Stop it.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to say it to him so that he can become aware. Like, again, on the seventh day, he rested. And he
Yeah.
was just, speaking and touching things, if you will. We out here really heavy lifting, uh, you know, doing the labor work, doing the mental, like we doing a lot. And we don't
Mm-hmm.
think we deserve to rest. So masking becomes easy because in America, you got to keep going. You got stuff to
Mm-hmm.
do. Bills keep coming. Kids got to eat. The wife need things. You the man. This thing all on your back. You got to go. So to sit down with my homeboy and be like, man, I'm so depressed. I'm so stressed. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know how we gonna make it. First of all,
Yeah.
I ain't finna look weak in front of my homeboy. Like I ain't about to cry,
Right.
even though this is truly what I'm going through, what I'm feeling. I
Right.
ain't about to do that. So whenever he come around and ask me how I'm doing, oh yeah, man, I'm straight. I'm good. How you doing, brother?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then we
Yeah.
just keep on going and keep on going, not knowing that both men are struggling. But in order to break that code, we have to learn to be safe places. And I'm gonna say this for both men and women. And so to the black man, learn to be safe. Be honest with yourself, first of all, to know that it's okay to feel whatever you feel.
Right.
It's okay to do that. And if you don't know what to do with those feelings, this is where therapy comes in. This is
Mm-hmm.
where you go to find a voice for those feelings. So you're not on Facebook making, woe is me post, and you're not out here simping. Is that what we call it?
Mm-hmm.
You're not out here simping and all of those things, and you're not looking like the weaker vessel. But you're
Right.
knowing where to put those feelings and those emotions, because you're gonna have them, male or
Mm-hmm.
female. You're gonna have it. So
Right.
we have to learn how to be honest with ourselves to become a safe space within ourselves, so we can create a safe space for those around us.
I got
Mm-hmm.
a question. Is because when men do express themselves in that way, they are looked at as being weak. So is it a way we can do that without being looked at as if like, oh man, you looking weak right now. You in your feelings. Like, is it a way we can express that without looking like that?
There is. I'm gonna say this. The Bible says a tree is known by the fruit it bears.
Mm-hmm.
You have to watch the people that you're around. If you when you're watching them, you can see what they have the emotional capacity to hold for themselves and for you.
Mm-hmm.
If this is somebody who automatically thinks like that, they're narrow minded, that's their point of view, you never share your emotions to them.
Okay.
That's who's
Mm-hmm.
gonna make you look weak.
It makes
But if
sense.
you have a friend, you have a ministry, you have a cohort, you have a brother, you have like a battle buddy, a football buddy, whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
and y'all both know how to be honest and be safe, that's where you put those emotions. That's
Okay.
where you go to get what you need. And I know in the social media space, some of the girlies have been asking men to pour it into me. I'm your partner. Say it to
Mm-hmm.
me. Say it to me. I'm gonna
Mm-hmm.
caution both genders, I'm gonna caution both genders with that, right?
Right.
Because we're human, right?
Yeah.
We're human. And there's just so much your mind can compartmentalize. After a while, I'm not going to be able to see you as my husband, my boyfriend, my love. I'm going to be like, you cry more than me. And that's
Mm-hmm.
just what it's going to be, right?
Yeah.
Even though she don't mean to, but if you just get that safe in there and you pour it all out, because we don't always know what we're asking for either.
Right.
I want to be a safe place for my husband my man, and I want to learn what that looks like for him. But him divulging all his emotional distresses and concerns to me, if I see
Right.
that my baby is struggling, and this goes for my son or my significant other, I'm gonna say I'm gonna acknowledge you. I'm gonna acknowledge that I see there's a struggle, and I'm gonna do what I do with my son because I'm not married at this point. I'm gonna say, hey, it might be time.
Get some help.
I want you to go and reach out because I put my son in therapy at 16. And
Mm-hmm.
so he still have the access to his therapist. All of, I said, let's talk. It might be time. Here's what I'm noticing with you. Here's how I'm seeing you respond to things, right? Because you ain't got to tell me just because I'm your mama.
Mm-hmm.
It might be one of those men things. And you might want to
Mm-hmm.
talk about me. He might want to put
Right.
about me. He still
Right.
needs a safe outlet to do so. So I say it might be time to, talk to your mans, right? And that makes him feel seen. That makes it safe, and he also has a resource.
So,
Yeah, I
so,
like
it,
that.
so it is some truth to that when they say you don't want to share too much with your woman because she will use it against you. So that's
Mm-hmm.
why we need. I see what you finna say something. You got it.
Me or your brother?
Oh no,
Now,
you. I thought you
go
was
ahead.
finna say something.
No, I'm like, oh yeah, because again, we're emotional, and sometimes we don't even mean to be.
Mm-hmm.
We don't even mean to be. Now I got to keep them. And this is not to say you can't trust your significant other, ladies. Don't hear me saying that, right?
Mm-hmm.
What I'm saying is we're human.
Right.
Right. And I know there's a lot of weight on the two humans to be everything to each other. That's
Mm-hmm.
just not fair.
No, you're right.
I need my girlfriends, and I need my husband, and I need my family, and
Uh-huh.
I need my other community. Like we all do this together.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Just because I get married or get in a relationship, I don't have to close everybody else off. Right. And
You're
that's
right.
too much pressure both ways. Because what you want to get when you divulge your emotions like that, your feelings like that, you want the acknowledgement of those feelings being heard and seen, and you want to get an answer. Like you want to get support. You don't just want to, oh baby, I'm sorry you're going through that. Like that's
Damn, so
true.
good.
But
What
what am
happened?
I gonna do with what I'm like? How do I maneuver through these? How do I, remain in my safe space as a man, as a person to get through life, even though I'm feeling this way?
Mm-hmm.
Because men have to be able to go through that process as well. And I'm so glad that men are acknowledging that they do have these times where they don't feel their best self. They don't feel like they are who they've been called to be, and they need help.
Mm-hmm.
There's a guy, Ray Henderson in Memphis. He's doing barbershop work. Like he's a barber and a realtor, but he has these barbershop conversations where he allowed not only just the older black gentlemen, but the younger black gentlemen to come in and
Mm-hmm.
share that wisdom in their safe space. And no
Mm-hmm.
women in there because it's the barbershop, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's men talking to men about men's stuff. And because we're all in this circle and because we're all safe, I can't go out there telling your business because my business in the circle today,
I got
your
you.
business to be in the circle tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
But because we're trying to heal and we understand what this is about, we ain't even coming there for that. That's what I'm loving for men. And that's what I'm appreciating. And that's what I want men to know is available to them. Situations like that. So when you do come home to your wife or significant other and she see that you had a bad day, now she can operate in her feminine space to
Mm-hmm.
support you that way. Right?
I got you. If you really didn't already share maybe your weakest moments or weakest feelings with a male friend instead of coming and bringing it home to your woman and putting it on her.
Cause I mean, when you think of your man, you like, the big Hulk Hogan and he's
Uh-huh.
strong and my man hard and my man will beat you up. Like you think of all the things when it comes to your man.
Mm.
So, and again, we're human. One day in the back of your mind, you remember, and men, this don't mean you can't cry in front of her either. Somebody died, please cry.
Okay.
Uh, please cry if somebody died or something, really causes pain. This is not saying that, but it's like being careful. I'll say that you operating in wisdom is what we have to learn how to do in these situations. You can't just you just have to be careful in that. And she could love you and she could be I'm the sweetest thing in the world. You could tell me all but anything. There are some things I do not desire to know, even from my own child in a sense, because I'm human. Some things I just don't want to hear, because once you hear something, you can't unhear it.
I understand. And we was talking about like how in our culture people are reluctant, to go see a therapist. And I can be honest, like I'm one of those people, and me and my brother was talking about it, like he was sharing with me how he goes see a therapist. And I was just telling him, man, I feel like people really just need to just have real and open conversations with other people. Like just get it out of you. And if you could talk to the person that's caused you that hurt and pain, talk to them and get it out of you. Well, what's your take on it?
Well, there's a reason in the space, in quite a few professional spaces. There's a thing called conflict of interest.
Mm-hmm.
There's a reason a therapist can't have her mother or family member as a client,
Okay.
because it's still my mama, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if part of my pain was caused by my mama and vice versa, it's going to be difficult to have the client therapist relationship, because you part of the problem.
Mm-hmm.
So the reason having a counselor or a therapist is vital in the healing space, they're there to kind of give that objective view. They're also there to keep the main thing the main thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I'm talking to the person that hurt me, or a person who may be connected to the person that hurt me, those emotions going, hey, that ain't what I meant. That ain't what I meant. Well, hold on, let me finish. You think that now we arguing instead of getting to the bottom, instead of me getting the healing I need, you getting the healing you need. Now we're arguing because that's not what I meant. That's not what I said. That's not how. So therapy allows you to, one, bring those things up. We have the answer within us. We do. But unfortunately, we have to fight through a lot of trauma, drama. And I know that trauma has become such a cliche word.
Mm-hmm.
I know it has become such a cliche word, but it is a real thing. And we have a lot to fight through. I'm gonna see. I'm gonna define it. It's trauma, a deeply distressing or disturbing experience. Growing up and coming home, your lights are not on. As a child, that's a deeply disturbing experience. Going to school, everybody can buy snacks but you, because your parents don't have the money to give to you to buy snacks. But now you got to fake it until you make it like you don't even want snacks. For a child, that can be a deeply distressing experience, right? Emotional shock following a stressful event or a physical injury, which may be associated with physical shock and sometimes leads to long-term neurosis. Sometimes you can see something that, those crimes of passion. You see your significant other with somebody and it just sends this shock through your body and you unalive them. Trauma should not be handled lightly. And I don't get to say what's traumatic to you and what's traumatic to you, because you can have 2, 3, 4 siblings living in the same household with this same experience, but they won't have the same experience, right? And so I want us to understand how vital it is to break through. We have a lot of things that we have to break down, have to get to the bottom of. And even that is a lot of work before we can get to the root of what's really going on with us. Going to therapy, getting that healing is work. You're going to have to say who hurt you, even if it's your mother, even if it's your father, who did the best they could, but they still caused some type of discomfort or some type of pain in your life that has stifled you. That's if you're ready to grow. Sorry. That's if you're ready to grow. But some people would rather live in that pain. And this is where we get the victimhood from. Well, I'm not this because my daddy wasn't there.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't do this because my mama didn't do that. But you're 42.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
You're
that you
42.
said a key thing. You said a key thing right there with growth. You got to want to grow. You
Gotta
know,
want
speaking on as far as my experience with counseling, I've been to counseling before, and what I realized about it is it wasn't easy. But what I realized about the counselors, they go all the way down into your childhood. They want to know about your mom. They want to know about your dad. And I made it. I made it. I made sure that my counselor was she was a believer. She was black. That was important to me. You know, that may not be important to everybody. That was important to me. And sometimes it is easy to open it up to, you know, a woman, you know, to get a different perspective of things. But I found it quite, you know, I gained results from it. It was hard. It was humbling. But counseling is a key source in my growth.
And
good.
Marquita,
Good for you.
I wanted to ask you something because like we're all believers, and I want to know, like, is it possible, like, if you're spiritually strong, can you still be mentally weak, or like? And I'm just wondering, like, if I'm spiritually strong, would I even be mentally weak? Like, what do you think about that?
Oh, that's good. And I see where it could come from too. That's good. You got David, Paul, Eddie. Oh, it's not them the Temptations. I've been wanting to do that for so long. But you know, when you read scripture, you'll see David in his times of distress saying, "My God, where are you?
Uh-huh.
Like, don't let my enemies overtake me." Like at one point, David just wanted to die. You know, you got Job who did nobody wrong.
Uh-huh.
Cursed the very day that he was born, in distress, like mental distress, like, bruh, this is too much for
Mm-hmm.
me. Just take it away from me. You have those examples in the Bible, and there are, you know, others when Judas unalived himself
Mm-hmm.
because he gave Jesus over.
Mm-hmm.
He unalived himself.
Mm-hmm.
When he gave Jesus over, you know, there had to be some type of mental torment in there, knowing what he did.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mhm.
yes, you can be spiritually strong and mentally weak. You know, you can know the scripture, you can have all of them written on your wall, you can have it deep down in you. But unfortunately, a part of this nature in this dimension that we're in this world that we're in, it comes with some struggle. And
Mhm.
just because you are going through those things, right? The spiritually strong. Spiritually strong is also knowing where to go and get your help.
Okay.
The Bible says, I look to the hills from which cometh my help. My help cometh
That
from the
comes from
Lord, the
the Lord.
creator, right?
Yeah.
There are people that God has created in the earth, has placed in this earth, who have signed oath, went to school, cried, because I'm telling you, tears come down when you're in those classes, who have given themselves to becoming counselors and therapists and advocates and coaches and, you know, pastors, because some pastors do counseling, right?
Mhm.
They have given themselves to that space to help you in those moments when you're having these, you know, sometimes spiritual and natural battles. But those things will strengthen you. And so to close it up with, just because you go to church and yes, you're spiritually strong and all those things,
Mhm.
sometimes you're going to have those experiences that call for you to reach outside of yourself. Even though you know the scripture, even though you go to church, they're going to call for you to go outside of yourself, because we're all in this together. We're
Mm-hmm.
all the body of Christ. We make up all the parts of us make up the one body of Christ. So you don't have to do it by yourself.
That was pretty good because I used to think like Jesus will fix everything, but you just gave
Yeah.
examples of people in the Bible, man. Like you said, David, the man after God's own heart, and
Yeah.
he went through his battles. So
Yeah.
Right.
My
yeah,
boy was distressed. You know, he lost a whole child, even though he wasn't supposed to have that child. But
yeah.
you know, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
I got a question for you. With you, you know, you're well educated in this field and knowledgeable, and you know, like the people that other people look to, you know, like we all just think that they're strong all the time. But we know that even with you knowing everything, you know, like you have your battles. What do? You know, like when you need help?
Mhm.
Woo.
That's good.
It was 2016 when I decided I was no longer going to suffer in silence, that I was no longer going to let Jesus fix it all, that I
Mm-hmm.
was no longer going to go home and isolate and just actually feel the physical pain of my emotional distress.
Mm.
And so the first thing I ever did was, well, the very, very first thing I ever did was I went to therapy. And that happened around 2010. So I went to therapy then, but in 2016 was really when I broke the mold because I was going to church every Sunday. I was
Mm-hmm.
teaching Bible study at the youth campus, right? And I was going home just in total distress, crying before I go to church, crying after church. Just, I was a mess and nobody knew. And
Mm.
so my pastor at the time, I texted him and I was like, man, let me be honest with you. And I just told him, like, I am not okay. I said, I'm crying
Mm.
every day. I want to die, like blah, blah, this and that and third. He was like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry you're going through that. He said, I know one of the enemy's scheme is to make you feel isolated.
Mm.
He said, but I want you to know that we're here for you. I'm praying for you. Let's grab coffee or something. That was 2016. I still remember that message back and forth. Shout out to PJ. But what I do now versus the isolation versus feeling like I got to handle it all and versus living under and I'm going to be very careful, the out of context structure of Jesus will fix it all. I'm going to say it that way, right? And he
Mm-hmm.
fixed it for me by being able to say, so now in my friend group, I communicate. Hey,
Mm.
today is very bad. First of all, I went and got the diagnosis that I needed to be knowledgeable of what I'm dealing with, right? Because sometimes in the community, we don't even know what we're dealing with, so you don't know how to treat it. Some
Mm-hmm.
people really should be diagnosed bipolar. Some people really should be diagnosed as having anxiety or generalized anxiety or depression, seasonal depression. You don't know what you're dealing with, so you don't know how to
Right.
effectively treat it. And so going to therapy, going to a psychiatrist got me diagnosis so I would know when I was feeling some type of way what I'm actually dealing with. Because
Mm-hmm.
Right.
sometimes we'll bully ourselves with the let Jesus fix it, or I'm supposed to be stronger than this, when really, baby, you're sick.
Mm-hmm.
So I got the diagnosis. And then I started looking into what would help me, right? Going out
Mm-hmm.
into the sun, sitting outside, sunbathing,
Yeah, I heard
being
about that.
like, that helped me. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I have prescription medicine that I do take. Some people don't take At first I was against medicine. I was like, I don't need no medicine because, I was in the moment of Jesus, do the thing. But I started taking the medicine and I saw what it did for me. So I take my medicine. And then in my friend group, hey y'all, this is what I'm feeling right now. This is like a level 1. There's no need to call me. You can text me if you want to, but I don't feel like talking. But this is where I am. Just divulging the information, because the other thing that happens for me, I isolate, right? So I don't want to talk, even though I need people around at the time because I'm
Mm-hmm.
struggling. So I tell them everything that they need to know so that when we're communicating, they understand why I'm not responding. Because, like I said, I like to talk. So when my
Mm-hmm.
friends are texting and I'm not responding, that's a red flag for them.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I also have to consider my friends, right? I'm talking to you, you're not responding to me. I don't know what's going on with you. Now I feel like it's an issue with us. You know what I'm saying? So I communicate to my family, to my friend group when I'm in total distress. Y'all, I'm down bad today. This is what's going on. I'm okay. Please don't call, or call. If I need to see people, I'll start a family group call in a minute.
Mm-hmm.
They know it. I will start a family group call, look at my family, talk to my family, boom. But if I don't want to talk, I would say, please don't call me, please don't text me. I'm fine. But this is where I am today. And so a lot of times, going back to the masking question, we mask because we're ashamed.
Mm-hmm.
Previously, I was ashamed to say, right? Because some of my family members would tease me about how educated I am. So,
Mm-hmm.
you went to college? Yes, I did, but they ain't teach me everything, and that don't mean I don't go through some things. And so,
Mm-hmm.
it's hard to say when you're the one with the answers. A lot of time, when you're the one who always seems to have it together and everything is going good, it's hard to say, well, today ain't a good day.
Mm-hmm.
Matter of fact, the week ain't been a good week, so here's where I am. But I don't heal from not divulging that, and my family doesn't heal.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just a part of my personality that I've accepted. I'm always in teacher mode. So if I'm going through something, I know God is going to use it for greater than me. So even in those moments, that's just my nature. I'm still taking a moment to share and teach to help the community grow because that's just how I am. So when I'm down, when I'm in distress, I make it known. I activate my health advocacy plan, and that's the power of words. I'm either going to listen to music, I'm going to breathe some affirmations, I'm going to roll off them scriptures, right? Then I'm going to go out into the benefits of nature. Like I said, I'm so glad the weather is changing. I'm going outside. I'm going to sit in the sun. I'm going to be around people. I'm just going to enjoy nature. I'm going to find some water. And then strength of community. I'm going to call my people.
Yeah.
Say, hey, somebody need to come see about me. Or, hey, I just need y'all to know this is where I am. You ain't got to, when I feel better, I'll let y'all know, but just give me this time. So that's how I operate. That's what I do. And so learning those things, going to therapy, and then my educational background has allowed me to create such a plan for myself that not only benefits me, but it helps support those around me.
Okay, so and like I have days too where I'm just not feeling it, and like what you say, I and like my wife, she'll feel it. Like she'll be like, "What's wrong?" And I just be like, "It's just one of them days," and I can't describe it. I don't know what word to use. It just I don't be feeling it. Do you know what that is, or is that just a normal thing? Like some days we're just gonna not be ourselves.
I mean, I'm still a little bit recovering here. I mean, we all have a lot of pressures in this world, right? There's a lot going on. And again, and not everybody has depression. Not everybody has anxiety. There's not something wrong with everybody. But there will be times where, like you said, I just don't feel it. But I can't because I don't have the ability to diagnose any mental illnesses or any type of illnesses. So I can't say, yeah, that means you're depressed, or yeah, that means feeling this way. But I would say that is an opportunity for you to take notice and maybe start journaling.
Okay.
What usually happens before I feel this way, especially if it happens often, like every 2 Wednesdays or every 2 months around this time or around this season or around this date. And if you start journaling, then you can look back. Because here's the other truth. Everybody won't go to therapy. Everybody just won't go to that space where they're going to go to a professional and do all the things. That doesn't mean you can't get the healing that you need. That doesn't mean you can't walk in your own truth. You're just going to have to learn what it takes. And I'll say one of the first things is to journal, identifying who you are in the different phases and the different stages. I can't tell you what's going on with me if I don't know. I don't feel it today. There's a guy. He's originally from Mississippi, but he lives in LA now. His name is Cornelius Lindsay. Familiar with him? Either one of y'all?
No,
No, I
I'm
never
not.
heard of.
So he's a pastor as well. He and his wife Heather Lindsay. So I found her first, and then after following her, saw her husband. Found out like they were married, and then, like I said, he's from Mississippi, but he's very open about his struggles with depression. Black man, but he's very open. He's a pastor. He works out religiously. He work out. He's a pastor. He's a father, a husband. He do all the things, but he still battles with depression. And he's learned to be, very open about it. And then Heather, she has a blog as well. So she also talks about sometimes what it's like being married and how to support him in
Okay.
those moments where he's, and maybe in a depressive state, or he's just having a mood and she don't really know what to do. She talks about that and what to do. So I would encourage you, when those times come up, start journaling, because, like I said, if you're not ready or don't decide, you still need to identify with Ken. You need to always know what's going on with you in whatever season, what's the triggers, what's the transitions, all the things.
Okay, I got you.
Well, I got a question as well. What do you say to that family member that say they okay, but their behavior says the total opposite of what they're telling you? Like you already mentioned, the cold hard fact, everybody's not gonna go to counseling. So what do you say to that person? Like, I know, I know we always supposed to make ourselves. I mean, stay available as much as possible. But what do you say to that person that say they're okay, but their behavior said they're not?
I love you.
Okay.
All right. I love you. And I know what you said you're asking for, but your behavior is showing something different. Whenever you're ready, no judgment here. Whenever you're
Right.
ready, yeah.
Right.
Whenever you're ready, let's talk about it. Whenever you're ready, I got the resources for you. Because, when a person's already in conflict like that, the worst thing to do is like trigger them. They're either
Okay.
going to bleed from it, and now you can't even have access to them, or they're really going to just explode and cause true harm to themselves or somebody else. But, and we can't make people do anything.
Right.
All I can tell you is I love you. When you're ready, let's talk about it. When you're ready, I'll go with you. When you're ready,
Dope.
I'm here to listen. Whenever you're ready. Just like the tone of voice, and that's another thing for culture and community.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I asked you what was wrong with you, and I told you I'll go with you. Ooh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Shut down after that. Yeah.
If that's how you got to help me,
You
I don't
never want
need
to work
your
with
help.
me.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
What's wrong with you? You say you all right, but you're around here doing stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love you.
Right.
Whenever you're ready. I love you. Whenever you're ready. Right? And as many times, and then there are going to be some times where you're going to have to say, I love you from the distance, because they'll never decide to. That's the hard one. They'll never decide to. But I love you.
Mm-hmm.
And even if you go far out there, like the prodigal son, if you live through it and you come back,
Wait, no.
I love you.
Right here
I'm ready.
waiting.
You are.
Yeah.
And that's the position that we have to take. Number one, if you're a believer, that's the
Mm-hmm.
position that you take as a believer. Now, I know that can get misconstrued too.
Mm-hmm.
You just think you're supposed to take all of the pounding and somebody doing all causing all the harm. You always protect yourself first.
Right.
That's
Right.
number one.
Right.
But if you see a person like that and they just go off onto their own, turn over to their own vicious ways, and you just pray them through. Especially if it's a family member, somebody close to you, a friend, and you love them. The effectual, fervent prayers of the righteous availeth much. Pray them, pray them, pray them. Like I said, if they live through it, coke raggedy, if they make it back home, I love you.
Right. Right.
I'm here for that. And then you go from there, because they gotta want it. Whoever you're helping gotta want to be helped. They have to say it. You can't force anybody to be helped. Anybody, because they can go to therapy and look at the therapist for 60 minutes and don't say one word. Therapist can't do nothing but take notes and see you next week.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We're getting close to wrapping it up, but I saw you posted this on your page, and I wanted to ask you about this. This is what you said. You said, every day I choose to love me. Every day I choose to speak to me so love me and so positive. Every day I choose to see myself the way God sees me. Could you share with us, like, what did God reveal to you? How do He see you?
So growing up, like, I had the darker skin. Like you said, my cousins.
Mm-hmm.
So for the girls, I had like the darkest skin. So I was the blackest girl. I was like a quiet girl. I wasn't always that girl. Like, some people still don't know if my grandma, my mama, or my mama. Right.
Okay.
So I just wasn't seen a lot. I wasn't heard a lot. So that caused me to draw back in life a lot, along with some other traumas that I had personally experienced. Those things caused me to draw back. And because of those things, I didn't know how to see myself. I didn't even know that I could see myself.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went from childhood up until my young adulthood. 2016 again was the day that I broke the mold, and I just decided I wasn't gonna do it that way no more. And so what God started revealing to me was, man, just how beautiful I am. That's beyond the way my facial structure is. That's beyond my skin tone. That's beyond my body frame. That's beyond all the things. How beautiful I am. Like, the fact that I can be considerate of others.
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody has that. I thought that was what people do. Not
Mm-hmm.
everybody has that. The fact that, the Bible says, look for God. What's that? The pure in heart shall see God. That's what it is. I look for God in everything. And when I look for God in everything, I begin to see just how beautiful He not only made the things around me, but how beautiful He made the things that come from me. So when I think about what comes out of the light room, when I think about what comes out of my mouth, when I think about what comes from my hand, when I think about anything that God allows to come from me, I'm just like, okay then.
Yeah.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
girl. You know, because
Mm-hmm.
those things before would stop me. I'm too black. You know, I might not be pretty enough. You know, or it just might be my body. You only want my body. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? And so those things cause a lot of internal conflict. But everything about me is good and it's perfect. And God counted in all deficits, all deform whatever I think or whatever somebody
Mm-hmm.
else think could stop me from being as great as he created me. I used to be known as shy. I would even identify as shy.
Mm-hmm.
Looking back now, I'm just like, I didn't know why I was shy. What was I shy
Mm-hmm.
for?
Yeah.
But at
Mm-hmm.
that time, I didn't have a voice. I didn't even think I could have a voice. So when I look at myself the way God sees me, I could change the world.
Oh yeah.
I could literally change the world. I could impact the world with just my voice. The voice that God uses, through the power of the Holy Spirit to allow me to say what needs to be said to the ear that needs to hear it. Man,
Yeah.
okay. Okay.
It was good.
So that's what I think about, And when I tell people at the end of my podcast, I love you, and God, when I tell you, I mean it. For so long, I lived in darkness, and I just didn't see how I didn't know how it could get better. I mean, I was going to church, and I knew at some point God was going to deliver me and all of this, but I had no visual of light for my life.
Mm-hmm.
So be on this side of light. Whew, I have so much compassion for me. And for anybody who's going through the darkness right now, I'm going to tell you, baby, keep going. Because there
Mm-hmm.
is light on the other side. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what God showed me. I am light. The light room.
The light room.
The
Always
light
Yeah,
room.
remember it.
yeah.
That's it.
So how can the viewers, before we get out of here, how can the viewers keep up with you? How can they follow you on? Is there any kind of platform they can follow you on?
So if you want the mental health in the real life, follow me on Facebook by my real name, Marquita Dorsey, MarquitaDorsey. Now I am on TikTok and I am on Instagram, but my Instagram and Facebook are connected. So whatever I post in one place goes to the next.
Mm-hmm.
TikTok is a little fun. I'm still trying to figure it out, but the meat of the matter for me is on Facebook. That's where the podcasts are held. That's where I divulge a lot of my information, such as what he just read. And I'm going to tell you now, I did not expect this to be what it is. So you'll get a little of me and the work. It's authentic, it's human, and it's real. So you'll see pictures of me and maybe a few fun times here and there in my life, but for the most part, I'm trying to now keep it about the work. As my page grows, as the work grows, I want people to come to the page what it's for. I try not to give up my personal space in the Facebook land, but hey, it is what it is.
Hey,
It is what it is. So when you come over there,
yeah.
you'll probably begin to see more and more mental health because we need it, and
Definitely need it.
I'm here to do it.
Definitely.
Marquita, we appreciate you. And just like you do in the light room, you have educated us, empowered us, and equipped
Yeah,
us.
yeah.
And I'm Ken Brown. I'm out.
Jay Brown signing out.